friends, Dave Paulides, Canadian Missing Project, and that is the executive producer of the show, Huck L. Berry. Huck knows she's the queen, knows that she's the boss girl. Oh, he is a good girl. He is a good girl. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that feels good, Dad, right there under the neck. Yeah, it's a good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. Yes, you're a good girl. Yeah. So, we got the new banner up. Yes, it's quite interesting because we just added a new big-time speaker to the Missing 411 Alaska cruise, and that would be Chris Bledsoe. He's pretty famous, folks. He talks about UFOs, abductions. Oh yes, it's going to be an epic, epic cruise. Zoom in on that block on the top right. Me, Bledsoe, Joe Hauser from the Montana Vortex. It will be an epic trip, guaranteed. And then, if you live in Washington, you better be coming to the premiere in Tacoma, March 21st. And that's Missing 411 National Parks, Washington. I guarantee you will be, first of all, blown away by what you learn. Because what we're going to present in this movie is quite different than what we've presented in the past. And it will be very interesting. Kind of what you think and what we know to be going on in the national park. Some of the cases might be a lot different than you think. And after talking to family members, meeting with witnesses, you will learn that the National Park Service has not been telling you the truth. And I think we all knew that, but when you're actually faced with facts about people that aren't here, that they can't find, oh, it'll be stunning. So today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to read you a letter that was sent to me by an individual who was hunting in the Ventana Wilderness out near Big Sur, California. And remember, I did a segment on Big Sur and the cluster there. His story is interesting. Interesting. I'll read that. And then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the best magazine in the world. And I say that with no hesitation. And you say, well, Dave, you must be getting paid off to do that. No, I'm not getting paid anything. I'm just relaying to you the facts. Nexus. Nexus. You can look it up online. I've read things out of it to you in the past because they talk about things that other magazines don't. And it's not that they just talk about it, but they make a statement about it. And they talk about it in factual terms. Their editor, Duncan, great guy. I met him. I actually was invited to Australia and did a book tour on, thanks to him, several years ago. So we'll talk about that as well. So let's get right to the story from Ventana. Says Dave, I've been following you Missing 411 channel for years now and plan to write to you ever since you aired the episode on Big Sur, California cases months ago. I'm a senior engineer for one of the largest medical device manufacturers in the U.S. I'm also a type 1 insulin-dependent diabetic. Been so for 36 years. Also, today's my birthday. I'm turning the big 6-0. I wanted to share with you my experience that occurred over 37 years ago when I went hunting with a buddy of mine in the Ventana Wilderness. No, Huck, it's true. I'm not lying. Although I don't recall the exact date, but I do know that it was a day or two after Christmas in December of '88. I have some original photos of the trip that I numbered and enhanced my account. Feel free to make copies if they are of any interest to you. I included a self-addressed envelope to return them. I will. If you want to share the account, you're welcome to, but please keep my name confidential. Will do. In '88, I was an engineering student at Cal State Sacramento, and my buddy was still living in Palo Alto where we grew up. I was home for the holidays, and we planned to do this trip and go hunting down south in Monterey in the northern part of the wilderness. We drove from Palo Alto on Highway 101 south to Monterey, and then Highway 1 to Palo, Colorado road turnoff. We then took the Palo, Colorado road, driving all the way to Botcher's Gap Campground, where we parked at the trailhead. We pulled out our gear and set up our backpacks. We were both young men in our 20s and moderately experienced backpackers, but heavily armed to hunt hogs. I was carrying a 12-gauge Winchester Defender with deer slug barrel. My buddy was literally carrying an elephant gun, a bolt-action .375 H&H Magnum. We also had sidearm. By the way, that gun that his buddy was carrying, I wouldn't carry it because it's no fun to shoot because it kills your shoulder. I know, I'm a wimp. We also had sidearms, knowing that this type of game was dangerous, and if for some reason our long guns malfunctioned, we would have something for backup. I had a Smith & Wesson 629-44 revolver. My buddy carried a .45 auto. We had enough provisions in our backpack to stay a couple nights, and combined with our weapons and ammo, we were carrying a lot of weight, and honestly too much for our own good. It's typical. As you may know, the terrain is very steep. Very true. Before noon, we departed the campground on Skinner Ridge Trail into the wilderness. The trail was overgrown and the conditions were dry and hot. We took breaks along the route as shown in the photo with my buddy Matt cooling off on the trail. That one was photo number 3. This is buddy cooling off on the trail. The trail was overgrown, conditions were dry and hot. Our progress was slow, and after going about 3.5 miles with 2,667 feet in elevation gain, we stopped for a break at a peak in the mid-afternoon to check our location on the map. It looked like some distance to get to the next peak, so we decided it was a good spot for the day and set up camp. Photo 5. Setting up camp. 2, 1, 4. Wow. These are all messed up. Here we go. This is the view they had from their campsite. Pretty. We gathered a large pile of deadfall, and we're pretty pleased to have found a nice spot as being a relatively high peak at 4,158 feet with a fantastic view. As we were setting up camp, I happened to look over towards the trail. Pay attention to this. And noticed some people coming up the trail. My first thought was maybe we would have some company by fire tonight with all the wood we had gathered. But as the individuals approached, the hair stood up on the back of my head as I noticed the person in front appeared to be carrying what looked like a medieval battle axe. There were 3 or 4 of them, to the best of my recollection, and were all oddly dressed in sheepskin-like clothing. They were walking very slow in a strange manner with their heads staring at the ground. It was one of those moments when you aren't sure if you're actually saying what your mind is telling you. We instinctively dropped down to the ground out of sight and stared at each other, wondering what we should do. Get out of town. We decided to drop down off the hillsides off the peak in an attempt to flank them and get another look to see where they were going and what they were up to. Within a few minutes, we were at a point in the trail that we would have been alongside of them as we had seen them walking slowly. When we came up the trail, we could not find them and decided to run up the trail further in an effort to locate them. but they were nowhere to be seen. We quickly ran back along the trail and noticed a drag mark in the dirt from the long axe the man was carrying in front. We got back to our camp and were shook up about what we should do, not knowing where they had gone and if they might come back after nightfall with nefarious intentions. Yes. Like most young guys, we didn't want to leave all the deadfall we had gathered and the spot with this beautiful view of the ocean. We decided to flip a coin, to be honest, and I didn't know if we really truly cared about winning or losing the toss. If tails, we were leaving, and I seem to recall we flipped a few times until tails came up. It was getting dark, and we took down the tent and were packed and were heading down the trail within 15 minutes. Rifle and shotgun were slung and pistols in our hands, and we were scared, thinking who and what these strange individuals were. Traveling down the steep and overground trail was dangerous in the dark and with loaded handguns, but nothing was going to stop us from getting out of there. It took us a few hours, but we made it back to the campground and loaded up the car as quickly as we could and drove out of there. Stop here for a sec, folks, because I want to commend rational thinking and quick thinking. When your gut tells you something's wrong, listen to it. These two young guys did the right thing. They got out of there. As I would have done myself, because I wouldn't have been able to sleep a wink during the night thinking some maniac with a huge axe is going to come in there. Next paragraph. We were tired and hungry and decided to drive up to Carmel to get some food and found a pizza parlor. After being down at a table, struck up a conversation with the waitress about how we had left Botcher's Gap after seeing some strange people up there. The waitress said there had been some reports of missing people in the area. Giddy up. We were thankful that she shared the information and helped to validate our departure. After we finished eating, we had to figure out where to go for the night. We didn't have much money and figured, let's just find another place to camp. And long story short, the only place we could find within a reasonable drive was Big Sur. We ended up driving back on Highway 1 south to Big Sur. It was wintertime and nearly deserted, so we were able to find a camping spot and set up a tent and get to sleep. I don't remember us sleeping all that well, as I believe it rained some during the night, but woke in the morning and packed up to leave for home. Before we left, my buddy took a photo of me in my car. Some years later, I was showing the photos to some friends, and they spotted an image in the photo to me that was on the side view mirror of the car. Given the events of the weekend, it gave me chills. Now, after having been a follower of yours for many years, I wanted to share something else with you, which I didn't discover until watching your episodes on Big Sur and then researching the route we had taken in the Ventana Wilderness. The name of the peak we were on when we saw those strange individuals is called Devil's Peak. I now wonder if those were some kind of entities that had come through a portal. They seemed so out of place and then disappeared as quickly as they appeared. After the incident, I did report it to the King City Range Station, and they said that they had raided some kind of satanic camp earlier that year and were asking me if we had seen any butchered animals or makeshift altars, which we had not. Another thing that I haven't been able to understand about the trip is in regards to the original photos I have. You may have noticed that I did not include a batch because I couldn't fully explain them. The account I gave you is the best of my recollection about what happened. However, after finding the old negatives for the photos, I was trying to place them in order they were taken using the negatives. I don't know if my memory is fading or what. Matt, my buddy who was with me on the trip, later enlisted in the Navy and became a corpsman for the 2nd Marine Recon, serving in Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq wars. And after retiring as a senior chief, later worked for the CIA in Libya. He passed in 2017 and is no doubt with our Lord, given the accounts of the comrades who talked about the lives he saved at his memorial. I know you have recently lost some close friends of your own. I would like to express my condolences to you and prayers that I have said for them as well as your son Ben. I really appreciate all you have done to inform us villagers of the related books, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, The Extra Dimensionals, Phil Schneider, etc., that you have shared over the years and have given me knowledge that I would otherwise not have. Your devotion to help others and commitment to inform the public is a true blessing for us all. Next month, wife and I are flying to Seattle to see the premiere show of Missing 411 National Parks. Great. I'm looking forward to seeing you. We bought VIP tickets and going with our friends who live nearby in Lacey. We're looking forward to attending and hope you have a chance to meet you in person. Thanks again. Wow. It's even better than the first time I read it. Very strange stuff for sure. I'll show you some of the photos. This is a picture that he was talking about with the rear view mirror. I looked at it really closely. I couldn't see anything, but it's probably me. Get a little closer. And this is getting ready to depack. This is a view of Ventana Wilderness. It can get really hot there in the summer. Really hot. Campsite. I don't know who took this, but here's both of them. That's a good picture. There's his buddy who passed. I'll make sure to get these back to this fine man. You know, in the last year, there's been a series of people who have poo-pooed the research that we've done. And I don't understand if they're truly uninformed or if they're paid by some organization to try to push others like you away from here. I don't quite get it. But I know a lot of you who have read peripheral research on what we've done that has supported our work are staunch in here. I would ask you first to get the link that I've put up many times. That is the link to every video we've done, 900 plus. And every other day, check it. Because in the last month, a huge number of you are saying that you're not getting notifications when the videos are coming in. Don't know what to say about it. There's a couple of videos that I did on the Marin County cluster that have a small fraction of the views that they should have. And these are some of the best videos I've ever done. So I don't get it. Somebody doesn't want you to watch, and that's pretty obvious. So let's get into Nexus, and this month it's unreal. So you know that I've talked a lot about quantum physics. Oh yes, it's real physics. And there's an article in here about, the title is When Nothing is Real: Deceptions, Fallacies, Trickeries, and the Nature of Reality. Our modern societies are built on pillars of honesty and transparency, values we hold dear for harmonious coexistence. Nevertheless, the truth is far from this ideal because of deception, trickery, hoaxes, and lies have been the stepping stones of civilizations. What we perceive as reality is inherently deceptive. Our senses can mislead us, and our personal reality is generally shaped based on our misconceptions, biases, and prejudices. Let me just cite you one recent example. A group of 12 police officers in New York City are walking down the sidewalk, and all of a sudden a group of thugs start picking up snow, putting rocks inside the snow and throwing them at the police. We're not talking one or two, we're talking 20 or 30. And the policeman quickly walked and then jogged out of that neighborhood. And then Mamdani, the governor or the mayor of New York, said, oh, it was just a snowball fight. So let me explain something. He's trying to lay a perception on his public, his followers, that, that's nothing. See, the police didn't even do anything about it. There isn't a police officer in that group that ran off, that wanted to run off, but they were ordered to run off by their administration. Now, when I was a policeman, I can guarantee to you, we would have stopped, turned, and gotten in pairs, and each pair would have grabbed one person throwing a snowball, and they would have been going to jail for battery. But that's about Mamdani trying to push a perception on the public. And this is important to understand. And I'm not talking politics, I'm just talking about perception. Deception is a prevalent phenomenon in many aspects of life. It is a natural behavior observed in various living organisms, including animals, plants, flowers, which utilize it as a survival and reproductive strategy. An Australian male jewel beetle who prefer to have sex with a beer bottle. These beetles are attracted to Australian beer bottles, which resemble a group of attractive female beetles. Male beetles are unable to distinguish between beer bottles and real female beetles. How sad. In early human civilizations, noble lies were not merely deceptions, but rather expressions of high aspirations conveyed through myths, legends, and religions. When we talk about myths, look up the Greek word mythos. Look it up. That's where myths came from. And it's probably not the meaning you think. They were crafted because of mystics and visionaries to give humans a sense of purpose and to set exemplary models of future generations. These narratives served as a guiding principles. They have pivotal in shaping human behavior and social order. The critical issue that we may be living in a world shaped by untested beliefs and ideas, creating a social environment that may not be extremely genuine. I call about well-intentioned deceptions, fakes, forgeries, and fallacies, noble and evil lies. These narratives, some honorable, others deceitful, have been deeply ingrained in us from birth. Very sad. Very sad. But the reason I started you off there is because I wanted you to carry you to this. The reality of reality. Remember, I have talked about quantum physics at length. Quantum physics has proven what occult philosophy has speculated for ages. We live in two parallel realities, the tangible and perceptible, and the intangible, hidden, and invisible world, which is the origin of the external one. This relates to the concept of parallel universes, which is a thesis that suggests humans can exist in two places simultaneously, something I've talked about at length. And the paradox of being both dead and alive at the same time. Now, how can that be? Right? Hold your taters. Quantum physics suggests that the reality we experience results from human observation and exists in multiple probabilities. In other words, everything exists in a state of possibilities. It becomes tangible with human observation. While humans often perceive reality as a physical entity, it is a set of symbolic representations created by the human mind to facilitate the human experience. First time I read that, it went over my head. Read it to you again. In other words, everything exists in a state of possibilities. It becomes tangible with human observation. While humans often perceive reality as a physical entity, it is a set of symbolic representations created by the human mind to facilitate the human experience. Some of the smartest minds I know anywhere all believe that you, me, everybody are all intertwined in this conscious world we call the universe. Your mind is connected to mine, which is connected to your neighbors. Today, I was on the phone with Joe Hauser from the Montana Vortex, and we laugh because he'll call me, and I'll say, Joe, I was just thinking about calling you. And when I call him, he says, Dave, I was just thinking about calling you. And it happens too many times to just be happenstance. So do we have a special connection? Maybe. But something's going on there. And many other things. Again, many theoretical quantum physicists believe that consciousness, known as life force energy, animates and fills the universe. According to this theory, latent, formless quantum phenomena exist in the invisible realm as possibilities. When humans observe or measure this concealed energy, it can be transformed into actualities. Dr. Greer, Stephen Greer, he tells people to come to his meetings and he can summon up a UFO. Well, even if you don't believe him, I know several other people that can do it. I'm not kidding you. They have a group of people, say 5 or 10, the more the better, and they concentrate on a point in the sky. And 80 to 90% of the time, a UFO shows up. Remember the connection. This is supported by the quantum fluctuation theory, which states that the virtual particles constantly appear and disappear, transforming into energy and matter. That is, energetic particles briefly emerge from what we perceive as nothingness, the sky. In quantum mechanics, empty space is not truly empty. It is filled with quantum particles that flicker in and out of existence. Throughout the universe, particles and their antiparticles spontaneously form and quickly annihilate each other without violating the law of energy conservation. As life continues to evolve, artificial intelligence or robots have already figured out how to deceive humans. The creation has surpassed the creator. A recent scientific research paper has reported that several artificial intelligence systems have mastered the art of deception. They have already learned to deceive humans or tailor their response to the inquirer's preferences and interests. This is determined by the information gathered from the websites visited, articles read online, and more. Peter S. Park, a postdoctoral fellow at MIT, conducted recent scientific research on how various artificial intelligence systems have learned to deceive humans. Sadly, very few people recognize the potential and dangers that artificial intelligence and robots possess. It's serious. In the metaphysical realm, the Kabbalion, a small treatise that reportedly summarizes ancient Egyptian and Greek Hermetic philosophy, states that the true nature of reality is mental. What did I just say? That we live in a mental universe where everything visible and invisible has different rates of vibration, and that nothing is solid rock. I hope you're understanding this because this is great stuff. This is confirmed by quantum physics, which postulates that nothing we perceive in the universe is absolute and unchangeable. The conditions of matter as solid, liquid, or gas comprise subatomic particles like electrons, neutrons, and protons, which are in a state of vibration at different rates. Hence, the shape and form we give to things are mere illusions without any true essence. Ultimately, things do not exist as they appear to us. It is essential to understand that humans do not perceive reality as it is, but according to each individual's perception. Give you an example. Group of 5 people hiking. Person in front, a person in the middle, see a UFO off to the left of them, right where everyone should see it, but only 2 out of the 5 looking in that direction see it. How is that possible? I just explained it. This happens a lot. The inalienable right of humans is the capacity to create their reality for their personal growth. The problem is that most of the time we create automatically, that is, unconsciously. The world of probabilities holds the potential for actual reality to manifest. Thus, we must design our goals consciously through clear mental images. In other words, we must provide a specific form to the infinite probabilities. Marianne Williamson, a New Age writer, acknowledges this principle when she expresses that humans are so powerful that we are afraid of our might. Along the same line, Homo sapiens have the remarkable ability to create myths, stories, and legends that help us understand the chaos and randomness we observe in the world. Spiritual leaders or seers of the community invented noble myths to give meaning to external disarray and establish order and essential structures of reality. Interestingly, several ancient legends suggest that the universe emerged from chaos. The lesson is that human intervention is crucial in sorting things and giving meaning to our surroundings. By establishing goals through religions, myths, and legends, humans have evolved and grown over time. This unique ability sets humans apart from the herd mentality of animals, giving their existence a sense of purpose. When I read this the first time, I immediately thought, Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch. You think about the amount of things going on there at any one time. Is that because they have super brilliant people there that are stirring this up and thinking about it and manifesting that on its own? Because I know the people that have been at the ranch in the last 30 years are brilliant people. So does that mean that someone whose light isn't as bright as some of those guys, like me, comes on the ranch and doesn't see anything, and then I'll walk away and badmouth them and say, hey, nothing's going on there? How many times have you heard things like that, right? Just because you don't see it, people discount it. But now I've just explained to you why maybe you don't see it. One might ask, what are the purposes of deception or noble lies? It may seem paradoxical, but human progress may not be possible without them. Everything suggests that human existence depends on these falsehoods. So although life may be built on deceptions, they have an intended purpose. Ultimately, human existence aims to create these noble lies as a means to take us beyond our present situation. Precisely the capacity to fabricate noble myths has given Homo sapiens an evolutionary edge. For example, Judeo-Christian Bible has been regarded as a collection of different narratives, including some notorious hoaxes. However, these pious lies have inspired and spiritually supported millions to endure life's hardships. A noble lie can be a religious, political, or philosophical idea generally established supposedly with altruistic purposes. These ideas have been the underlying current in the development of social institutions and secret societies, compelling the advancement of human civilizations to its present stage. In a sense, it can be said that a noble lie has a motivational spirit that stirs human volition for specific action. We live in an artificial world of virtual reality characterized by chaos and disarray. Humans have to set goals to navigate this imaginary world. Thus, it can be said that reality is a social construction upon which humans have implicitly agreed. This article almost seems as though we're inside of a game scenario and somebody's controlling us through our thoughts. Think about how advanced that game would have to be. Conventional wisdom refers to a set of untested beliefs and opinions that society accepts as accurate. These collective ideas and presumptions were instilled in us by our parents, ancestors, and teachers. They have become ingrained in our subconscious through repetition and endorsement by the prevailing educational system and social media. Moreover, our subconscious beliefs and deep-rooted convictions, which often remain hidden, shape our future by default. This next part, I'm just going to read you a bit. According to physics, everything is made up of electromagnetic energy vibrating at various levels. We inhabit a virtual reality where human consciousness plays a vital role in the collapse of quantum function. Quantum mechanics has been characterized as the weirdest science. However, it is essential to note that modern technologies such as smartphones, digital computers, the internet, and GPS is built on the principles of quantum physics. One of the most fascinating theories in quantum physics is that observing a probability wave can cause it to transform into a physical particle. However, when our focus shifts away, it returns to wave probability. Have you ever seen those tests? They have footage of this occurring. Along the same lines, it can be said that when we stop dwelling on our problems and worries, they disappear for the moment. However, when we shift our focus back to them, they reappear. This notion has a practical application. Focusing on issues and difficulties in life only reinforces them. This realization presents us with an incredible opportunity to control our reality. This is so funny. Last 2 days, I've been doing nothing but taxes. That was my reality for 2 days. 2 days out of every year, I just live in this hell zone of tax. And then I got my Nexus magazine and pulled me out of it. Newton's third law states that every action produces an equal and opposite reaction. This illustrates the duality in reality, where opposing forces act at every level of interaction. We live in a reality of dual nature, one affirming and other negating. As a result, to exist, we require two opposite forces simultaneously. The equilibrium between these conflicting factors manifests in the real world, physical world. This concept is known as the principle of polarity in Hermetic philosophy. The human body undergoes constant change and renewal with millions of cells born to replace those that die. As a result, we can say that the universe life force generates both life and death simultaneously. This process is called coexistence of opposites. In dialectics, meaning the contradiction between these opposing forces, triggers movement, action, and change. American theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler suggested that our consciousness shapes the universe we inhabit. That's what we've been saying now for a long time, making it a participatory universe. Based on this consideration, one can argue that life is like an artificial playground where noble lies, ethical falsehoods, set the rules of the game with the ultimate goal of awakening and advancing human consciousness. I'm pleased that Nexus brought this out. This is truly the way people are going to understand our world in the future. Humans inhabit two worlds, the physical, conscious, and mundane world, and the intangible, enigmatic, inner world of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Although the latter is invisible, it is the foundation of the external world. The thesis that we live in an immaterial world is validated by the fact that protons, which are elementary particles of matter, are formed by waves of photons that appear and disappear. That world that we live in, of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, can be one of the most dangerous worlds we live. You think about mental health. That's the world that lives in. It's not the external. Sun's going to come up every day. So that really isn't it. It's something internal. An idea cherished by an individual becomes their own reality. However, even more than one individual shares the same ideals, that reality becomes intersubjective. These types of realities only exist in the human mind and created through collective belief. They are necessary to ensure large-scale, flexible cooperation between many individuals. The unique ability to believe in these intersubjective constructs sets humans apart from other species. I'd agree with that. Now, some of you say, well, Dave, you just scrambled my mind for the night. That's a good thing. If I can get everyone out there to open their mind up just a little bit and think, my mind can have an effect on what's going on out there because I'm part of that entanglement. Everybody out there. So when Joe Hauser and I think about each other and one of us calls the other, that's part of that inner universal connection. Now, some of you really are down on psychics. I'm not up, down, sideways. I just tell stories. But some of you really think they're the devil incarnated. But what if their abilities are based on a stronger line between people? Our line between each other is there. But what if their line is different? So because Dr. Greer or others can summon space entities, Chris Plitzo's another one. And on that cruise, he's probably going to summon up some things while we're out in the ocean. That's what we've already talked about. So if they can do that, I can't do that. So why can they do it? Think about it. If somebody can stand there and look up in space and say, hey, you watch up there, we're going to see a UFO in a few minutes. And bang, a UFO appears. How do they do that? What's their ability? Well, I know some of them claim that they were abducted and that's how they got the ability. But it's got to be a mind-to-mind connection that you and I don't have. Think about it. Friends, your kindness is important. Probably one of the best things you can do in life is to go out and be kind. Even to the worst people imaginable. Have compassion and empathy. And recognize when others are in despair and give them a good word of encouragement. It costs nothing. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Please go to GatherUp, GATHERUP, GatherUp events, and look up the Alaska cruise. And be in Tacoma, Washington, March 21st for the premiere. And you could stream it online. Go to missing411.com and read more about the premiere. Be safe, be kind. Paulides out.